All right, let's start in with 8-4 notes. So the square of a binomial. Try the getting ready problem. Go ahead and read through it, pause the video, and then click on pause and compare it with what I get there. So you probably want to do a split screen again, 1/2 notes and 1/2 watching the video, and pause it when you need to slow down or to catch up with notes. So the first thing is you got a square piece of paper here. You're going to cut off an X amount of distance. So the new expression for this length would be 6 minus X. And you're going to do the same thing over here with the width to keep it a square. So that's going to be 6 minus X over here. So if I wanted to find the area of this, which is what it's asking for, area is length times width. And I know the length is now going to be 6 minus X, and the width is going to be 6 minus X. I could also write that as 6 minus X squared. Okay, so those two things are equivalent. And then I would just use what we learned in 8-3. You can actually use 8-3 to solve all the problems here. Okay, so 8-4 is kind of like some shortcuts for 8-3 and some helpful things to know when we start factoring later on and working in chapter 9. So I have 6 minus X here and 6 minus X here. Let's divide that out there. This is going to be 36 minus 6X minus 6X. And this is going to be plus X squared. So when I write this in standard form, it's going to be X squared minus 12X plus 36. Okay, so remember the minus 6X and minus 6X is minus 12X. So that's an expression for the area. Okay, instead of doing the notes here, we're just going to go to the next page. So create a page, make it look like this, pause it if you need to. And over on this side, I have the squares of a binomial. Okay, why is it called the squares of a binomial? Because we're actually squaring it. And it is a binomial, 2 terms. Okay, so that's why it's called the square of a binomial. And I have a plus b squared. So I can rewrite that as a plus b times a plus b. Okay, and let's use what we learned in 8-3 to figure this out. And then we'll start working with the shortcut. So this is going to be a plus b and a plus b. This is a squared. This is going to be ab. So it's going to be ab right here. And this is going to be b squared. So when I simplify this, I get a squared. I get 1ab and another ab, so that's 2ab. And then I get plus b squared. So what did I really do here? Let's kind of think about this. All I did was I squared this. I squared this, b squared. And then I multiplied a times b together and doubled it. So that's 2ab. Right? And I could do the same thing with subtraction here. So if I kind of took a shortcut here, I just square this first term. It's going to be a squared. I square this last term. It's going to be b squared. And then I multiply these two together. I get negative ab and double it. So that's negative 2ab plus b squared. Hey, over here, a difference of squares is a little bit different. We're going to go back to this page in a second, but let's try a few of these. This is a b, by the way. Squeeze it in there. Okay, so let's go forward a page. So how would I do this? How could I kind of take the shortcut? Well, I have x plus 8. Squared is always x plus 8 and x plus 8. And I could use the trick that we just learned. I just take this first term and square it. I take this last term and square it. So that's my first and my last term. And then I multiply these two together. That's 8x. And I double it. So that's going to be 16x. So it's a little quicker than the box method, although if you use the box method, you get the same thing. Whatever these numbers are, I can follow the same rule or expressions. So this is going to be 2m minus 3 times 2m minus 3. I just take this first term, square it, It's 4m squared. Take this last term, square it. It's positive 9. I multiply 2m times negative 3. That's negative 6m. And I double it. It's going to be negative 12m. Okay, and that's my expression. Go ahead and pause the video. Try A and B. All right, assuming that you've given those a go, let's figure these out. Again, we could use the box method and get the answer here, but this is a little bit shorter. I just take my first term and I square it. I take my last term and I square that. And then to get my middle term, I just multiply n times negative 7, which is negative 7n, and I double it. So I get negative 14n. Over here, take this first term, square it. Take this last term, square it. Multiply these two together. 2x times 9 is 18x. Double it. So that's 36x. That's my expression. Okay, moving on to SAT-like problem. It says a square outdoor patio is surrounded by a brick walkway as shown. What's the area of the walkway? Well, the area of the walkway would be the total area minus the patio. Okay, so this would be the total minus just the patio would equal my walkway. So the total is going to be x plus 6 times x plus 6, which is x plus 6 squared. And the patio is just x times x, so that's going to be x squared. And using what we just learned here, I could just take this first term and square it. Take this last term and square it. Multiply these two together, I get 6x, double it, it's 12x. And then this is just going to be x squared. So these are going to cancel out. So my expression is going to be 12x plus 36. Okay, it says what is the area? It really means what's the expression for the area. And I could factor this too. I could factor out a 12. This would be x plus 3. So either of those would work. We're going to skip the mental math section here and move on to a difference of squares. So a difference of squares is going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2. So when I do that, let's see what happens if I use the box method. So I get x plus 2, x minus 2. This is going to be x squared. This is going to be a negative 4. This is 2x and negative 2x. So these two terms are going to cancel. So a difference of squares, you have no middle term. So there's no middle term there. So if I go down here, so if I go back, I have a difference of squares means that one is positive and one is negative. And all I'm going to do is just do a squared minus b squared. So there's no middle term. And there's no middle term, as the middle term is just going to cancel out. As we saw here, this is going to cancel out. So try A, B, and C. Last ones here. Pause the video, try A, B, and C. Assuming you paused it, this is going to be x squared minus 81. I know there's going to be no middle term. It's going to cancel out. This is going to be 36 minus m to the 4th. Okay, m squared is going to be m to the 4th. And over here, this is going to be 9c squared minus 16. I hope that helps.